Greetings, everybody. How are you? You know, I love my music. You know that, guys. How you doing? I like to share this stuff with you guys. And let's see who's with us. Yaya Coconut, of course. Brian Hawthorne. How are you, Brian? Good to see you all. Jamel Malik, 500 top dollar. Tashara Nesbitt, greetings. Andre Morris, I'm gonna see you in Canada. Racina, how are you, Racina? I hope you have your trigger finger ready. Malachi Roberts, how you doing? Cartwright, Terry Cartwright, how you doing, beloved? Danica from California. Taylor Diva 8, Nicole Vaden, Joan Serville, Tiffany Curry, Tiffany Goldstein. How are you, beloved? Good to see you. You should almost be done with your studentship, innit? You're getting very close, I believe. David Richards, how are you? Adana Bernard, Stephanie Parker, how you doing, beloved? Quincy Johnson, my beautiful initiate, Sally, how are you, beloved? Good to see you. JT5, the Market Ranger, Mark Sparks. So where are you guys bailing in from? Ohio, Staten Island, St. Kitts, St. Troy, St. Croix. Oh my goodness, Newark, New Jersey, the Bronx, Chicago. We're going to be in Chicago very soon. Newark, New Jersey, San Antonio, Baltimore, Mrs. Scientific, how are you? Miami, Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Dallas, Texas, Southern California, South Carolina, Planet Brooklyn, Audra Verse, how are you? Nick Williams, Pennsylvania, New York, of course. So, Memphis, Tennessee, of course. Kansu, how are you doing, sir? Macon, Georgia is in the house. You guys are bailing in real fast. Louisiana, Alabama, Irvington, New Jersey, Maryland, San Diego, Compton, California, NWA land. Yes, thank you. This is called the jalabia, and this is part of the sunnah for the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, for all of you people who are on the Deen Allah, right? This is what Muslims all around the world wear, as well as people who do not follow the Deen. It's very, very comfortable and it's somewhat ceremonial, right? So it's very comfortable. I like to wear these from time to time, and it's a beautiful thing. So we're going to talk about the Black Panther movie. And we're going to get into some of the things that I've seen in the movie. But first, I want to talk a little bit about some other things. I want to just thank everyone who came with us to Kemet, Egypt. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. And it was really, really good meeting all of you, for all of my students who came, my initiates who came. I was very, very proud to bring you guys back to Kemet. Some of you have been there before, and a lot of you have never even left the country. So I'm really humbled that you guys would entrust me with bringing you out of the country. And we had a wonderful staff. And, I just want to thank, Vance, Duran, Donzel. We had a father and son, Donzel Taylor and Big Daddy Don. It was really nice to see a father and son come on this trip together. There were a few couples that came also on the trip, and my students, Racina, Jennifer, Stephanie, Lily. You guys did a great job in really helping everything to stay tight. Audra, thank you so much. David, big help. Um, Taki, Akmarie, Seed, you guys did a wonderful job in assisting. You know, it takes an entire staff to manage people from all around the world and try to keep things tight. Yes, there were some minor inconveniences, but you have to understand that Egypt is a third world country in many aspects. So some people were really culture shocked when they got there. And as I explained, we had a conference call, and I explained to people Egypt is not the romantic fairy tale place that people fantasize about being. There are some very real challenges that their people face, obviously, because the president Hosni Mubarak really dilapidated some of the things that Egypt was known for. As a result, life is a lot more difficult than you could imagine it possibly being for a place that housed so much antiquity. And, in my humble opinion, it shouldn't be that way. So we went there. We were actually called there by the gods, and the people who came on this trip were really blessed to have very divine experiences, some of which will not really be realized until you back engineer some of the things that you experienced. And sometimes that takes a minute and it takes a lot of deep introspection. But we were all over Egypt. We went to Dashur, we went to the Giza complex, we were in Ipet Asut, we were in Abu Simbel, all throughout Nubia and Aswan, and the West Bank, the East Bank. We even crossed Nag Hammadi. We were in Philae, and we were also in the city of Un, which is known as Heliopolis, or the city of the sun, or the house of Raharakti. Very, very powerful being on that energy grid. So it was nice to be in a place that history has borrowed so much from. Hollywood has borrowed a lot from Egypt, and unfortunately, a lot of European people who have the spirit of lack or have um, somewhat of a God complex like to take the imagery of what some of the comedic gods were known to be and take it for themselves. And that is divine debauchery of epic proportions. And that really needs to stop. Hollywood has to stop plagiarizing what belongs to someone else. And as I walked the streets of Kemet and we rode along, we saw some things that were very, very interesting and karmically placed. And I will leave it at that. So, again, thank you to everybody that came out to Egypt. We also did hypernatural magic. And it's funny because we had a 10-hour flight all the way to Kemet. And right after that, we only had a very brief time for everyone to check into their rooms and freshen up. But it was the only day that we had available for us to give this seminar for the third time. The seminar is so powerful that it was told that it can only be done once on each continent. So there are four more continents in which to do this seminar, and that'll be it forever. So you guys are in an anomaly, which is great. And I hope that you took great notes and you take full advantage of what was taught in that seminar. We also started giving solar Reiki there, particularly in Kemet, because solar Reiki will be the template from which your Merkaba or your light body will emerge. So, all of you guys that got the solar Reiki, you had, for the very first time, I presented a primordial element into the equation so that you guys have a head start in building your light body. And those energies, as I explained during that night, there were a lot of things that I've said that I've never said in my 5 years of teaching publicly. And you guys were amongst a very select few that heard some things that I can't even say during a seminar or on YouTube. So I hope that you make the most out of that data that was explained. Okay. So I also want you guys to notice that whenever we do a hypernatural magic seminar, Hollywood will release a movie that substantiates a lot of what is taught in that particular seminar. This is the third time that that has happened. So October 16th, we did the very first hypernatural magic seminar, and then Doctor Strange came out with a lot of what was taught in the seminar. Then we went to London and we did hypernatural magic for the second time. And then the gods of Egypt came out. This time, another movie called Black Panther came out. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question because I want to see who's really, really paying attention. When you are dealing with these movies, especially the Black Panther, what does Lord Toth have to do with the Black Panther? How is he participating in this movie? What hand does he play in this movie? I'm going to see if you guys can figure that one out. Okay. So again, I'm going before we go into Black Panther also, I want to say that we're going to be in Rosemont, Illinois, which is really Chicago. 7 minutes from the airport. The information is up on Eventbrite as well as the website. We will be doing another Kundalini activation. We will also be having solar Reiki as an additional for those people who wish to take that. You will have to do the Kundalini activation all over again because solar Reiki is very powerful. And again, it is the template by which your light body will begin to emerge from that. And I will give a lot more information on that at a later time. So that will be March the 31st. And then we will be presenting the Sequence of Power seminar at the same hotel, which is the Chicago O'Hare Airport, 7 minutes away from the hotel. And that will be April the 1st, April Fool's Day. But you would be a fool to miss this seminar, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys April 1st in Chicago. And then we will be in Toronto, Canada. And our beloved Novia Mike Climont will be facilitating that along with Rachel and Heather and all of the beautiful citizens of Toronto. I'm really looking forward to being there because I haven't been in Toronto since we filmed In Too Deep, and that was a long time ago. And I'm really looking forward to being in that clean city and being in that energy grid. It's a beautiful place. And we will be presenting the Angels, Gods, and Altars seminar. I want you guys to listen very closely. This will be the first time that we have ever taken a seminar out of retirement, done 15 seminars, and once they're retired forever. Um, but I have seen the need for people to understand anything and everything about the altar because I get asked all the time. And I have to realize that every day new people are discovering Galacticus. New people are discovering what we've been offering for years every single day. So I want to give people an advantage of learning some of the chasm of what I've been teaching all along in regards to the altar. So, for those of you who have questions about the altar, your opportunity to get a superior education about anything and everything that pertains to the altar, the gods, and the angels that have things to do with your altars and your shrines and your worship, that is the time for you to attend that seminar. I do not know if we will be doing it again, but we'll be doing it again in April. It will be right after the seminar that we have in Chicago. And the dates, I believe, would is sometime in mid-April. So do not miss it. Okay, don't myth it. MITH. Don't myth it. Make sure that you're there. Okay. And I believe that takes care of all the housekeeping announcements. So, the Black Panther movie has been a very long time in the making. It's been very, very strategic. And, I'm really, really happy for everybody in the cast, from the director to the actors to the crew. And if you stay to look at the movie, you have to stay to the very, very end because Marvel likes to give a last memorandum, if you will, at the end of the movie. But then they did it again. You have to wait until the very last credit. I'm talking about you're gonna watch. And by the way, it's important that you realize that a movie of this proportion is extremely epic. There are easily over 3,000 people that participated and lend the very best of their expertise in the arena that they brought into this movie. 3,000 people participated in making this masterpiece of a movie. And it's really worth checking out. And anyone who says that this movie is anything less than five mics, as they would say in the source, you're not woke yet. Okay? And I stand by that. So, the spiritual significance of a movie like this is all encompassing. And I went to see it once when we were in Kemet. Some of our Galacticans saw it in while we were in Kemet, and they wanted to, be very, very current, and I understood that. But I wanted to wait until I got back to the States and really delve into it. I had to see the movie twice. So I saw it once and I took it in and I took a couple of mental notes. But then today, I actually just came back from the theater and I had 4 pages worth of notes of things that I just saw that I felt was worth speaking about in regards to the spiritual significance of how some things presented themselves in this movie. Okay. So, the very first thing I noticed is that this movie is doing very well. And I personally believe that the movie has already made $1 billion. But for whatever reason, they just don't want to give it all the way up. So right now it's probably touted at 700 million, which is really unprecedented. And it will have to cross the $1 billion mark very, very soon. But again, it's my humble opinion that it already has done that because a lot of people are seeing the movie two, three, four, five, and six times because it has that much of an impact on people. Now, why does a movie like this impact people so deeply? Well, in my opinion, it is because this movie speaks about family. It speaks about, it satisfies the tribal need to connect to something deeper than your mundane life. And what I mean when I say that is that when you look at a movie like this that engenders a cause that's deeper than the satisfaction that people get just by being on the right team. There are scenes in the movie that talk about loyalty, being loyal to the throne, despite whoever sits upon it. That's a very deep science, and I'll go into that a little later. But deep inside everyone who has lived more than a few lifetimes, there was a time where everyone was involved with a ruling family, with a rulership. Democracy in the judicial system that we live under now here in America is not as old as the monarchy. So the ruling factions of this world can actually be challenged if um, an extraterrestrial camp comes here and calls out the people who are ruling this planet and saying that they have a divine right to do so because they seeded life on this planet. They can prove that with the artifacts that they left here. Do you realize that the president would have to step down from his throne? The Queen of England would have to step down from her throne if the ruling factions were challenged. And that's something that can happen at any moment. Have you ever thought about that? So, when you look at this movie, that also is something that is presented when the rulership of King T'Challa is challenged by someone in his own bloodline. And the law and order of Wakanda, which is the the place that they all live, or the place that is hidden in Africa, they have to uphold the principalities of everything that this is built upon, which are the precepts, the laws, and the rules that are unmovable. And it is how they've maintained their prominence, but still maintained, not being diluted by letting outsiders come in, which is very interesting. And I think that this resonates well with people because people respect that and people understand that law and order must be upheld in the household, if you will. Right? So, the first thing that I saw that I felt was very interesting is the heart shaped herb. Heart shaped herb. Heart center is where you live. When the heart stops beating, you can still be somewhat alive through the brain, but it is not enough to animate the soul quality of who you are. So you will be clinically dead. When you look at herbs, herbs are an elemental formation that were built into this planet with initiatics that basically help humans to evolve. When you look at the heart shaped herb, if you look at heart and earth and you interchange the letters, earth and heart are the same. So when you saw that, well, I get into that later because I want to kind of keep these notes somewhat in order. But I found it very interesting that the heart shaped herb or herb was something that has been mined their um, into their civilization. So a meteorite called vibranium hit the planet, and it hit this one place in Africa. And it also was a power base on a mound or underneath the Ben stone, if you will. And it gave life and it gave technology power that was unlimited to the people that lived there. Very similar to gold, isn't it? And as I've said before, gold is, and by the way, for all of you guys, I'm just kind of eye hustling a little bit. Yes, Salahuddin and whoever else said that about Chadwick Boseman playing Lord Toth or Tahuti, you are exactly correct. And I'll go further into that another time. But that's how this energy is engendered once again, or reinforced. His presence is reinforced in this movie. And that is not a coincidence. It's a very real thing. So, when you look at the heart shaped herb, there are many different kinds of herbs on the planet that bypass the mortality of humans. This is why the pharmaceutical companies like to mimic and imitate the power of some of these herbs on the planet. But in their raw form, they can bypass and help the telomeres live longer and help people to be immortal. So when you look at the philosopher's stone, or you look at the elixir, or the gems of life, you look at the water of life, the fluids of life. It's been written about for thousands of years how people take a liquid that refortifies them. The ascended masters also speak about that as well. And when you look at this vibranium, it's a really great homage to real initiatics that accelerate the human form and bypass the limitations of the telomeres, which is what the demigods of the Bible have built into the human era of the human computer that stops people from continuing to live, and humans have to die off at a very early age because that was something that was disconnected. Okay, so also, if you look at liquid colloidals like platinum, gold, silver, rhodium, these are all things that can be synonymous with the elixirs of life, or things that will accelerate or quicken or make you somewhat immortal. It's very, very interesting. If you also look at the entire 15 or so billion years of Earth's existence, it can literally be equated to a television program that a celestial being can watch within an hour of their time. Isn't that interesting? So, all of the planning that has gone into building Mother Earth and all of the things from the crystals and the plants and the elementals and all of the other kingdoms that are inside, outside, and around the planet, that took a lot of planning. So when you look at a movie of this proportion and you look at the 3,000 plus people all around the world, and if you look at the end credits, you'll see that there were different commissions from Australia, from South Korea, from Georgia, America, California, different places. The very best of people at the top of their grade participated in making this movie a grand success. Do you not think that the same is true in this universe? A lot of plans went into making this planet, and it's being observed on screens everywhere throughout the galaxy, and it's being rooted for like it's an NBA playoff, believe it or not. When I say that, I've been saying that for years, but there's a lot of proof that substantiates that. But I won't go into that at this moment. One of the things also that I find very interesting, if you look at Catherine Zeta Jones, how she was replaced by being the model for T-Mobile years ago. You guys that have been with T-Mobile for a long time. I thought it was kind of rude how they dismissed Catherine Zeta Jones and got someone that looked like her that was obviously 20 years younger. Or if you look at Tobey Maguire, how I don't know if he left the Marvel Universe as Spider-Man or if they needed to find someone younger, but they've changed hands. And Spider-Man is getting younger and younger. What do you guys think that's about? It is the reason why time travel was invented because we like to get younger and younger. So 2,000 years from now, time travel will not be mastered on this planet for another 1,500 years. But when it is, those of you who continue to come back here, you guys are going to go back to your past and you're going to correct some of the mistakes that you saw yourself making hundreds of years ago or lifetimes ago so that you can quicken up your own divine contract in evolution. It's very, very interesting. So I wanted to bring that up because I saw something in the movie that reminded me of that as well. Um, when you look at this movie and you look at Wakanda as a province or a continent, let's say, within a continent, it is very similar to that of Wonder Woman or Atlantis or Shambhala or Argartha. There are a lot of different enclaves that are unknown to mankind or humanity. They are hidden right in plain sight. So this Wakanda, though it is a comic, is patterned after very real places on the planet that do exist that are hidden for very, very good reasons. And they're hidden because they have gained the technology. They've kept their spirituality and their technology as one, and they're smart enough to know that their surrounding perimeters of humanity is not really ready or aren't really ready to join forces with a community that is unified as one, like it says in or um, like it's posed in this movie, which is another reason why I think that a lot of people really responded well to this film. This film also, I would have liked to have seen a representation of the goddess Bast or Sekhmet or Hanuman, but they didn't take it that far. Maybe in the next one, we'll see. So if you guys write some letters to Marvel and ask them to please have some kind of acknowledgement in physicality to the gods that they are speaking about, that would make this movie very, very, very interesting to see because they touted the names. So one of the things that I asked is, why is it that this movie is so successful? Why is it breaking so many box office records? Why is it setting records? One of the many things that I think is because, of course, you have Hanuman, who has lent his ashe to the movie. You have the goddess Sekhmet and Bastet, or Bast, that have lent their energy to the success of this movie. And you have another man in this movie who plays in the movie who actually has ashe. And without going too far into his business, because I don't want him to be mad at me, I'll just say Forrest Whitaker, ashe. Big Ebo. Yamala Ogunaneri Yamala Eya. Isn't that beautiful? So you have a lot of different powerful synergies within this film that are all firing off at the very highest part of their capacity, which is good. Another thing that I saw in this movie, which is interesting, is the artifact that Claw was able to steal with Michael B. Jordan, who plays the Torch and the new Rocky, and he's in two Marvel movies. So, I'm really happy for him that he landed on in this movie as well. But why is it that that artifact happened to be in Midgard or in England, in the Britain Museum? Whether it's fictitious or not, it's something to be said about that artifact being in all the places in the world. Why was it in England? How many of you guys can answer why that is? Okay, so that's something else. Another thing that I noticed is that when you took the heart shaped herb, remember, heart, earth, heart, one and the same, they actually dug a hole for you in the fertility of earth or the soil or Mother Earth. And laid you down and covered you with the fertility of earth so that you can go to the land of the ancestors. This is something that you do every night when you go to sleep. You go to the land of the ancestors and you see your dearly departed. You see your Egun or your ancestors. And you also have a home that you also live in there. Most of you choose to forget about it because it's more comfortable not to not to remember than it is to remember. But every now and then, little kernel will seep through, and you'll remember that you had a dream of Aunt Gladys, and she didn't say anything, but you guys exchanged telepathic information. That is a real construct. So when Prince T'Challa was laying down in Mother Earth and he went to the realm of the ancestors, he was able to see his deceased father and ask him questions and gain information. That's a real construct within life. I liked how when he went to the realm of the ancestors, you see that the sky was pink and violet. And you also saw the fact that the panthers were in the tree and that he emerged from the tree. That's a very powerful symbology because the tree represents your roots. It represents the branches of how you will emerge into your higher formations. It also represents the connectivity to a very long lineage. So if you could put it into perspective, when Prince T'Chaka, I believe, who was Prince T'Challa's father, presented himself to his son when his son went to the land of the ancestors, there were a group of 15 people. Each person represented another generation, and it spans back very, very far. So I really like how that was illustrated. Now, if you look at Forrest Whitaker, how he won the Oscar, he firmly acknowledged the ancestors and he said, I'm going to take this award with me to the end of this lifetime into the next lifetime. And he firmly thanked the ancestors, which was very powerful. A lot of people don't take the time to do that, but that is a secret weapon for anyone who is in the know, to use the power of the ancestors for them to have major success in this world. Also, about the heart shaped herb. The heart shaped herb is violet and pink. Violet is the fastest color on the electromagnetic spectrum. and it's about 668 to 789 THz terahertz, which are vibrations per second. So I'm not surprised that this fictional vibration or vibranium has this kind of oscillation to it, and it accelerates the human formation, and it does a lot of different things. So Jack Kirby and Stanley, you guys did a good job when you guys were taking different initiatics to bring you to the doorway of the spiritual world and get a lot of this information. It's a beautiful thing. And Stanley made a really funny cameo inside of the movie where, he said, I'm going to just take these stack of black chips and keep it safe over here. What do you guys think that message was about? It's very interesting. Stan Lee is a funny guy. That also meant something, though. And I wonder how many of you actually caught that. So I'm going to be reading all of these chats and seeing how many of you were astute with catching Stan Lee's wink and what the deeper significance of him grabbing the stack of black chips and what that meant. Okay. Also, it was interesting and I'm going to say this to all of my inner circle at Galacticus. I liked how his father said that it is hard for a good man to lead, and you will struggle. So you're going to need to surround yourself with people that you trust. That's a wink for all of you guys, and you know who I'm talking to. Love you guys so much. Um, I also saw in this movie that so much of what I teach is engendered in these movies. It's a beautiful thing. So if you look at the robes that they were wearing, if you look at it looked like a fish tank in the halls of his little sister that was the scientist and the brain behind creating the kinetic weapons of his suit and some of the other things. There was sequence of power all throughout the movie. The sequence of power, again, are the father to words of power, like I've said before. And no one can say that I started teaching this around the time. I've been teaching this since last year in February when we started teaching the big picture seminar. And I introduced sequence of power for the very first time then. Now it's very interesting that it's popping up in these movies. And even when she talked about the sneaker, when Black Panther put his foot on there, before he put his foot on the slipper, what did you see? You saw a sequence of power that actually made it what it was. When you look at the fish tank that had all of these sequence of power floating inside of it, that's what it was. When you looked at some of the people who had the robes, they had sequence of power that was empowering the power of what it is that they were doing, whether it was war or anything else. It was very interesting to see that. So, again, if you take something and you introduce an off world modality, they are coming from higher realms of creation and they are real. There was a time on the planet where people didn't have cars. People got around by horses, oxes, and mules. They got around the best way they could. People got around in very ingenious ways, but someone had the sense enough to tap into some of the higher registers of their consciousness and see that the wheel or bicycles, cars were actually a real thing and re engineered it or back engineered it and created it here. Now, many people can't live without a car. There was a time on the planet where computers were not present. There was a time on the planet where we didn't have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat or Periscope. Now, whenever you go to a restaurant or a church or a synagogue, masjid, even in the movies, when I left the movies today, I saw people on their cell phones. And all of these things that we enjoy are things from the future. They are things that exist. So I'm very proud to introduce things that are from your future. I don't know when it will become common knowledge for people to utilize sequence of power or words of power or cosmic beacons or transducer medallions, but the day will come because these are all gifts from the gods, and the gods had placed them in your future to bring you quicker into alignment with your destiny. And in order to get to your destiny, you have to follow the path that is laid before you. And a lot of times, Hollywood, as fictitious as it may seem, has a very real basis in reality. And a lot of the writers, directors, producers, agents, showrunners, and even the actors are very much dialed into exalted beings who give them this information and feed them things that actually come from the future. So it's a very real construct in it. So one of the overall themes of this movie that I found that, again, this is an element that made the movie very successful is the family drama. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that cannot relate to having family drama, myself included. When you look at what happened with Prince T'Challa, or King T'Challa, excuse me, he made a very bad mistake of he killed his brother to save someone else who happened to be Forrest Whitaker's character. But he didn't do what was right. He left a child behind. And in the mob, that never would have happened because dead men don't speak, according to them. So when he left this child behind after he murdered his father for the greater good, what he should have done was take that son and raise him, but he left him behind. And that son ended up being somewhat of a conflict that threatened the entire planet. This is something that we can't ignore. And a lot of times, your family poses as the greatest lesson that you will ever learn, or people in your family will pose the greatest barometer of how much you have learned and how much you have grown in your subsequent lifetimes up until this one. You measure yourself and your spiritual growth by how you perceive your family and how they relate to you, but they do not define you. So when you look at this movie, it's very interesting that the cousin of the new King T'Challa had the right to challenge him. He had the right to call him out, and he had a very legitimate grievance because they killed his father and left him behind. Now, this is the very interesting thing about that. This is the reason why, again, people may laugh when I talk about ancestor money and why it works, but it is to clear out some of the debt because the sins of the father fall on the son. Let me say that again. The sins of the father are not excused because of death. They will translate onto the living descendants of the one who has committed the sins within the family. If you doubt that, ask yourself why you have bad luck. Ask yourself why you can't seem to get your business going. Ask yourself why it seems like you have a lot of false starts. Ask yourself why you keep dreaming about your ancestors. Ask yourself why things are not going as well as you think they should, because there are issues in your lineage that have not been solved and clarified. So, again, the best way to do that is to have an altar and make offerings to appease some of the things that you may not be privy to, that your 10 times great grandfather or grandmother may have perpetuated. The energies of the repercussions are still very much alive within you, and it's a very real thing. So when I offer you guys modalities to use, it is connected to a real purpose in the universe. And if you look at the tapestry of this movie of, let's say, the Wakandians, and you look at those beautiful women that had the black and the red and the swords, and they would do the Osarian pose and they would bow. It was very, very tribal and militant and powerful. But it speaks to they would be equivalent to the law and order of the universe. There have been many planets that have not survived because they did not follow the detailing of what laws produce, which is order. So when a planet goes out of order, it has to die. We have almost died about 3 or 4 different times. Atlantis was one of the last real threats that threatened the overall existence of Terra, Earth, or Ardut. And Atlantis had to be sacrificed so that the entire planet would not be imperiled. There were certain gods that made sure that the planet Earth would not demise over one lousy continent that was foolish enough to do things that they had no business doing. So when you look at the black general, I forget her name, please forgive me, but she said to Lupita, I am loyal to the throne no matter who sits upon it, because she knew that the overall health of Wakanda was dependent on keeping very strict law and order outside of the whimsical fancies of the heart. And it is how they maintained and sustained the vitality of their own existence by not being errant or swayed by a dalliance of emotion. It's very powerful when you look at that. So that's another thing that I think represents and really has a real sway with people. Okay, so I'm at my last page of notes, guys. Um, with this movie, also, when you look at the god Hanuman, who is a Vedic deity, and you look at Bastet, some people will say that she is Sekhmet, and you look at how they are glorified in this movie, could it be that they have lent their ashe to this movie? Could it be that they have winked at this movie? Remember, gods are not human, and you only have 5 physical senses that you live within the confines of. When you're dealing with the gods have hundreds of senses. And I'm not talking about clairaudience, clairsentience, extrasensory perception, telepathy. I'm talking about things that we don't know about. I'm talking about things that wouldn't make sense to a slug. If you took a spider and you brought a spider into Harrods to go shopping, there was nothing in that department store that the spider would be interested in. So when you're dealing with the realm of the gods, they are immense beings that do not fit into the limitation of your perception, aka your world. So you have to use other viable means of connecting with them. And one god could bless this movie just by saying ding 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 ding, and the movie would be $1 billion success with not much effort exerted from the god who caused the success in the first place. Isn't that interesting? So, Miss Scientific, about the transducer medallions or the hooks on it, I guess you could say that the hooks could be a derivative of the power of what is available when you have a transducer medallion. Transducer medallions give you a connection again to a sequence of power that is called Cha'us. And what does Cha'us do? It summons a divine being to you. So for all of you who have the Lord Thoth medallion or you have the Lord Ganesha transducer medallion, you guys have had angels come to you in your dreams or gods come to you in your dreams, and they will look directly at the medallion and say, that's cool, or they may acknowledge you, or all of the wonderful things that occur when you have it. And also, I would say, when you look at the very end of this movie, which I thought was a beautiful thing, they went back to, I'm talking about Prince or King T'Challa. He went back to where his uncle was murdered, and he bought the building where he was murdered. And then he bought the other two that was around them and decided to have an outreach center. And why did he do that? He did that to clean out the karma that was associated with something that his father perpetuated. If you look at the Wakandians, they're somewhat immortal, as is Captain America and Wonder Woman and Superman. Most of the superheroes that aren't like Batman or Spider Man, that have real power, divine power, that are blessed by the gods, they are immortal beings, or at the very least, semi immortal, which is interesting. But even in their semi immortality, they still have to deal with karma. It's very, very powerful. Tiffany Curry. The next medallions that will be coming out are Mahalakshmi. There will be an archangel that I will withhold, but it's not an archangel that is very well known to humans, but it's a very, very good friend to humans. So we will also have a series of about 8 different medallions before this year ends. But the next one to come out will be Sri Lakshmi's medallion, which would be very powerful, and the unknown archangel that I will withhold from you guys for a while. Okay. So I do believe that that is the end. Again, for those of you who have not seen the movie, it's a very good movie. I give it 5 mics, which is the highest rating that you could give it if you're utilizing the source, the magazine, the hip hop magazine, 5 mics. And Benzino, you messed that up really bad by giving yourself 5 mics. Shame on you, Benzino. So it's a great movie. Support it. This movie is going to create more of its kind the more you guys support it. It's going to create a demand for more movies that have a spiritual motif. And it's going to create a desire for people to grow spiritually. That's the power of movies like X-Men Apocalypse, Doctor Strange, Wonder Woman, Batman versus Superman, and of course, lastly but definitely not leastly, the Black Panther. Congratulations to the director and Marvel Universe. You guys are really, really smart for allowing this to happen. And, of course, the Black Panther is many times greater than Captain America because this is where you get vibranium from. It's where Captain America got his shield from. He got it from Wakanda. It's a beautiful thing. So whenever you get uh, Captain America going up against Black Panther, Captain America will always lose. And maybe that's why it took so long for this movie to be made. But we're living in a place now where the world is changing and people are becoming more spiritually astute or woke, as they say. Woke kanda. That was kind of corny, right? I tried. I did my best. So go see the movie. Enjoy the movie. Ejectocito, cuz that was funny. I like that. I just happened to see that. That's hilarious. I laughed really hard when I saw Tyrese do that. Is Tyrese over? Tyrese, is Hollywood finished with you? I don't know. I hope that you are able to come back and regain um, your spot, but you have to maintain your sanity, beloved. All right. Um, I can't believe I have to scroll back and say who said that ejectocito, cuz that was really funny. So again, to all of the Galacticus family, all of the students, all of the initiates, all of the people who are watching the videos, don't keep this video to yourself. Share it with other people. How else is the movement going to grow unless you share what it is that you know that's helped you? When you help someone else to grow spiritually, you are increasing your own good karma. There is a way to increase the good things that can come into your life. There is a way to increase the blessings that will flow into your life. And it happens when you exact change wherever you are. It's a real construct in the universe and it does work, people. I have seen my life go from here to here. And as far as I'm concerned, yes, I want it to be. gonna have to decline that call. I wanted to be an actor for, I think, the right reasons. I was a creative person and I wanted to use the power to create and use the things that I've learned as an actor and have fun with what it is to memorize an entire script and be able to do different accents and um, utilize my senses. But I still feel like I have the best job in the world, and it is to help other people grow and other people find their way, their purpose, and to discover things that will edify them. And some people say the best things in life are free. But what happens when you want to drive a Jaguar? What happens when you want to drive a Mercedes Maybach? What happens when you want to drive a 4.0? You're not going to get it for free. You have to go there with a healthy checkbook. So, to those people who say, why don't you do your seminars for free? Why don't you just give us all of this stuff? Because everything costs money and it costs money to put on a seminar. The hotels will shut the door in my face really quickly if I don't write them a check to rent the room and feed my people when they come to the seminars. When I get things done, I really seek to give the very best, highest quality of what it is that's available. So, again, I don't have lunchbox consciousness to offer you. I want to offer you the very best of what is possible. And when you look at Lord Thoth or Tahuti, if you look at Lakshmi, Fortuna, if you look at any of the 22 gods of the Galacticus, none of them were paupers, none of them were poor minded, none of them had the spirit of lack, none of them were struggling, none of them knew anything about struggle, or neither did they embrace it. And this is what the Galacticus is about. And it was really nice that Racina, Jennifer, Stephanie, Audrey, we all flew back together first class or business class when we came back from Egypt. And a 12-hour flight was reduced to maybe a 3-hour flight. It was a beautiful thing. And together we strive to live the best, highest quality of life. And we pull people up with us. And the quickest way or the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But a lot of times people are going around. They're working a 9 to 5. They're working two 9 to 5s, and they're working a job on the weekends, and they're doing all of these things to make the ends meet. When really all they have to do is honor their ancestors and find a way to connect with their divine parents and elevate the cognition of their spiritual apparatus and make themselves understand that spirituality is everything that you've been looking for because it will quicken and accelerate the quality of your life. But some people don't want to do that because people like to grind and struggle and fight the good fight. And let me know how that works out for you. But it'll break your body down fast and it will burn out the neurosynaptic connections in your brain in a certain amount of time. So when you allow yourself to become a spiritual being, you will realize your dreams a lot faster. I am Sri Master Gano Grills for Galighticus.com, and I love you guys. I look forward to speaking with you again, and I hope this video has helped you, and I'll see you all guys very, very soon. Now, I'm going to try to turn this off. Yes, I said try, Try, right? We're going to see if this works. I'll see you guys on the dreamscape, yeah? Wakanda forever. Yes, that's a beautiful thing. Good night, you guys.